right, folks, this is Dale Jenkins, and I'm here with my brother, Jeff. How are you today, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Dale. How are you today?
It's a beautiful day in Spring Hill, Tennessee. The sun is shining. What's my weather going to look like tomorrow?
Tomorrow it's going to be a little bit overcast. Temperatures will be nice, but about 4 days from now, you're going to get some really cold weather.
The weather in Texas always runs about a day ahead of us.
Because we're going to get it in 2 days from now, so you're going to get it in 3 or 4.
So Sunday's going to be cold.
Dale, it's been a while since we've done any kind of video podcast, but we've been thinking about doing it for a while and try to get back into doing it a little bit more often. And we're thrilled today to get to do another one.
I'm excited, Jeff, about doing one. I'm also excited about what we're going to spend some time talking about. And it's going to be, I think, a really, really useful, hopefully, a program we've got planned today. And I'm trying to actually pull up right now the graphic for it, and it doesn't look like it wants to pull up for some reason. So that's always nice when things that you plan on doing don't work. But
yes, it is, isn't it? It is, yes.
So go ahead, Jeff, and take a second and introduce what we're talking about, and then after that, we'll take a minute to introduce our guest.
Sure. So Dale, every preacher understands that we're living in the strangest of times. In many ways, the most trying times, perhaps that many of us, not all of us, but many of us have ever lived through in our lives. And one of the questions we think about a lot is, are we learning anything from this that will help us? One of the lessons I believe the Bible teaches us is that when we go through any kind of special trial or difficulty in our life, it's not so much what happens as we go through it, but what do we learn coming out of it that can help us? And so we've been thinking about particularly what have we learned about preaching and ministry during this pandemic that we are still kind of in the middle of, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're kind of right in the middle of it right now, and there are a lot of lessons to be learned. And anybody who says they've got it all figured out, I would say might be lying to you about other things too.
And certainly we don't claim to have all the answers, and we're like everybody else. I was talking to a guy the other day, and we were discussing the fact that everybody has their own ideas about what should be done, what we should be doing, and I think the truth is we would all be honest. It would be better if we would be honest and just say we don't know all the answers, because this is not like anything that we've ever done before.
And our elders, as yours probably do, spend hours every week and discussing, should we do this? How should we handle that? And what should we do here? And then they come away from it saying, well, we've done the best we can do. We don't know what else to do. Maybe it's right. Maybe it's not the wisest thing to do, but we've done the best we can do. So I think you're right. It's challenging.
So we thought we'd talk about a little bit what kind of things we've learned, and we have a couple of special guests with us today that are going to help us and talk about things that they've learned. So let's invite them in and welcome them.
All right, so let's bring them in one at a time. Who you want to bring on first here?
Let's bring in Steve Bailey.
All right. So we have admitted Steve into the room, and there
you are, Steve.
Sideways man is.
A little sideways, Steve.
Well, how's that? What's happening?
There you are, right there.
All right, I'm going to have to fix this phone, guys. Hold on just a second.
Okay, while you're fixing,
there we go. There we go.
Paul Shiro.
Hi.
So Jeff introduced these guys from afar.
Okay, these are both Texas. These are both Texas preachers, born and bred in Texas. These guys are the definition of what it means to be a Texan right here. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your perspective, can't it?
Big-hearted and a little arrogant.
I'm shocked that you just used the word little. I've never heard you use that word before.
Well, a little thing in Texas, apparently.
Well, Paul Shiro, for those of you who don't know, preaches for the Southgate Church in San Angelo, Texas. Paul has been preaching for that congregation for how many years now, Paul?
Well, in a couple of weeks, it'll be 43.
43 years. Paul is thinking about placing membership there next week.
That's wonderful, Paul.
Whether to allow him to or not.
Also, we're very blessed today to have our good friend Steve Bailey, who preaches for the Brown Street Church down in Waxahachie. Steve's in year number what, Steve, now?
Oh, I think this is just about to be year number 5. I've worked for the same company. I've just relocated a few times.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
He gets promotions. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, so welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So we wanted to bring on a couple of guys that from congregations that seem to be navigating the changes that we've faced the last several months well, and not guys that do it perfectly. And there are numerous other people we could have brought on, but y'all were the two that finally said yes after we asked about.
Couldn't get anybody else.
Yeah, nobody else would do it. Thanks a lot. Hey, Paul, how do you feel now?
Paul, he's not doing anything.
Yeah,
I wasn't supposed to say that, was I, Jeff?
No, Dale.
That's great.
Don't tell our trade secrets.
Oh my.
No, we started talking, and immediately Jeff suggested these two guys, and I said, yeah, that'd be super because I see the stuff they're doing and hear about it, and it's good. So, Jeff, let's get started.
So, Dale, what we want to do, and we have 3 questions we want to talk about today, and we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on any of these questions, but we'll just take them one at a time and let each of the guys comment on these questions and give us maybe their best answer. And Dale, we're going to start with the question, tell us something that you've learned about preaching itself during this time of pandemic. And Paul, talk a little bit about that. What's something you've learned about preaching during a time of crisis?
Well, there's 2 things I'm thinking about. One of them is that, of course, the preaching the gospel is it's not limited to the methods that we always use. And now we've started doing streaming, and we'd never done it before. And I realized I'm not very good at it, but I also found out that it still works even in that way. When it's just you and a couple of technicians in the auditorium, but we had more people online than we usually have at services, so that was good. So, and we've seen a little better outreach with the gospel in that way. So that was a very big thing to learn, you know. And I don't know what else you want to.
So Paul, what you're saying is that you can teach an old dog new tricks. You knew a lot about technology before all this started, didn't you?
Absolutely nothing. I just found out the other day I have something called where they can call and leave a message on your phone. I didn't know that. I know it's full, whatever it is, it's full. The other thing I found out about my preaching is I found out that I really like an audience, and that preaching to that dark, empty auditorium nearly killed me. And my friend Jack English called me and said, we know end times are near because Paul's fooling around with the internet. So it's kind of a different deal. But
these are the last days, aren't they?
Must be. It may just be my last days.
All right. Well, Steve, talk a little bit about that. What did you learn during this preaching during this pandemic or crisis?
Well, as you all you guys know, it's really different now than ever before. And in December, when I planned my preaching, little did any of us know that we'd go through the month of January, and then in about February, we heard about this pandemic, and then everything changed. It was just like overnight, and we came in, and I think for several months, it was myself and 2 fellows in the sound booth and the AV booth, and that was all that was in our building. And it was different more different than anything I've ever done before. And I've always tried to preach to the left and to the right and to the center of the auditorium and look things over. And man, I'm with you, Paul. It was hard getting used to looking at that camera and focusing on that. And yeah, it's been difficult to say the best, but we've plowed through it and done our best that we could do.
Steve, did I just hear you say you've been preaching a little to the left?
No, wait just a minute. See, I knew you would go there. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I said either Dale or Jeff is going to pounce on that. Okay, let me rephrase. Looking over to the left, looking to the center, and looking to the right.
Yes. Yeah.
You guys are terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Dale. I love you, brother.
Only because I beat him to it. That's the only reason.
Exactly.
So, so Dale, talk about it in a minute. What have you learned?
Well, I actually decided, you know, it was a time where there were some times for change. I kept hearing people say that, you know, it's a good time to kind of evaluate things. And so I learned to preach without notes during this. I decided I was going to start trying to go without notes. And so for about the last 12 weeks or so, I've been preaching without notes. I'm a manuscript preacher, always have been. I still write my manuscript out every week, but I'm not taking it to the pulpit with me, not using a manuscript, just preaching without it. And it's been interesting educational experience for me. You can learn some things.
All right. So
what about you, Jeff? What about you?
Well, I think that the thing that has struck me most is the opportunity to reach people that we probably would have never reached before. We had a young man who was dating one of our girls, and she could not get him to come to church with her. But he would watch service with her on Sunday evenings. And then he started watching our daily Bible studies that we do. And he agreed to having a Bible study, and we were able to baptize him. And so I'm convinced that there are some people that we can reach during difficult times that we could not have reached in any other way. And I can't explain that in any way other than to say that God has been involved in this. And he's turned something bad into something good, just like he always does. But it's been a great illustration of that to me.
Our congregation has grown a great deal during this too, and it's been amazing to watch that happen during it. So Jeff, let's now move to the second question that we wanted to pose to these two experts that we have with us today. We talked, Jeff, about these two aspects of what we do, those of us who preach. There's preaching and there's ministry, and you can minister in your preaching and you can preach in your ministry, but there is a sense in which they're a little bit separate in their spheres. So what is one thing that you've learned about ministry during this pandemic?
Steve, why don't you talk about that first?
All right. Well, I have learned that the work goes on. That may sound very simple, but you know, we still prepare our sermons, we still teach our classes, we still go about trying to visit people, even though we cannot go in the hospital. And Paul, I don't know about you and Dale and Jeff, but this has really put a cramp on me about not being able to go to the hospital, not being able to go to the nursing home to visit people. I'm a people person. So it's made me think about how can I do that differently? And it's interesting. You can still find ways to do it. And I never dreamed that I would call somebody on the phone while they're laying in the hospital getting ready to go in to have surgery. But I'll call, and a lot of times they'll answer the phone, and I'll say, can I have a prayer with you before you go in? And, you know, God hears our prayer even when someone's in the hospital, talking to God over the phone, and that's good. And sometimes I've prayed with people as I'm driving down I-35, and I have my phone, and I'll pray with them before they go into surgery. And God hears that prayer, I believe. So we just have to be a little more inventive, I think.
So did you just
Steve,
say?
I hope when you're driving down I-35 that you don't bow your head.
And I don't close my eyes.
Did you say you were talking to God over the phone? I want that number, please.
Wait just a minute now. Y'all are walking on each other. What are we saying?
I just said I hope when you're driving down I-35 that you don't bow your head and close your eyes.
I hold on tightly and I keep my eyes open.
You know, the Bible says watch and pray.
Watch and pray. Exactly. There you go.
And I think the NIV says, especially if you're driving down I-35. All right, Paul, talk about that. What have you learned about ministry?
Well, just like the not being able to preach to faces, my ministry has always been I touch people. I mean, physically, I hug and pet and shake and shake hands and all of that, and it's been a real surprise when you approach someone and they back away, you know, because of the fear that's going on here. But so it's made me have to get out of the box on that too. And you know, it's in a way, this is a gift that God's given us. It's a terrible gift. It's not the one we asked for, but it's turning out good because you're learning new skills, you know. So I do a lot of calling and a lot of you know, we write cards and we do the thing we can do, and we leave food on people's porches and stuff, you know, but we're doing what we can. And that's not a bad thing, because being isolated is what a lot of people go through all day long, every day. And here we are being isolated and sort of frustrated. I will say I'm working harder than I ever have. There's lots to do, you know, and that's a good thing. So it's just different things.
If I might back up just a second, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been thinking too, while Paul was talking, made me think about, we have 5 ministers on staff now. We've doubled our staff during the COVID, which is probably unheard of, but we have 6 on staff now. And so we take a day each week, and each one of us do a devotional message, and we send those out to the congregation, and we put some good inspirational a cappella music with that. And so that's another thing somebody might be thinking about doing.
Steve, if you were a really hard-working preacher, you'd do a devotion every day.
Why did I not expect anything less from you?
Jeff, what
All
about
right, Dale?
you? Go ahead.
Well, okay, I was going to say, again, I think about opportunities. I keep going back to this same thing, opportunities that we have through this that we haven't maybe availed ourselves to before. You know, we do it, all of us, I think all 4 of us are heavily involved in visitation, trying to get to know people and spend time with people. And that's always been the case, but there are probably a segment of the congregations where we don't get to visit them, either because we don't feel like they have a need or because they don't really want people coming to their homes. But I've been able to make a connection with some of those people that I probably would not have made a connection with before, because they'll pick up the phone and talk to me. They may not want me to come in their home, or I might not have done that, but I've tried to talk to every family or every member in our congregation during this time. And I think we've been able to connect with most of them. Some of those people I had not talked to other than hello at the building ever before, probably. So that's one thing that comes to my mind. And then I think the other thing is, again, opportunities to connect. I think that's a big thing. We've had some connections made that we probably would not have made otherwise. Dale?
Well, like y'all, mine may be a little bit different, but we, you know, I think Paul's right. It provided some opportunities for us to rethink and to redo some of the things that we've done, and to be creative in trying to. So on any given Sunday, I don't know if y'all like I am, but I keep a piece of paper in my pocket, and I notice people not there, I'll jot their name down, and then I'll get in my car on the way home. I'll say, hey, I didn't see the Smiths today. Melanie will say, yeah, I saw them. I'll mark them off. But during this time, unless people check in, and we've used a check-in system, I can't look out and say, oh, there's the Smiths. They were here. Or no, the Smiths weren't there. I don't know. And if they don't check in, I have no idea if they were there or not. And so I spend every Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, and part of Monday contacting anyone who did not check in or was not physically present, And so as a result, I think, Jeff, what you said is right. It's provided me more of a connection with our members because I spend time actually checking on them every week. I'm sure I'm bugging some of them to death. Others of them I've taught how to check in because they've gotten tired of hearing from me, you know. So, but it really has provided, I think, more of a connection. And I don't know about the three of y'all. I know all of us speak a whole lot in other places, are blessed to do that. And I love to do that. But I had about 60 engagements that canceled on me. As a result of that, I spent a whole lot more time connecting with the congregation here. Times I would have been on the road or in other places, preparing for sermons in other places, I've had to focus here. That's been a very healthy thing for our work here.
And I would say to all preachers, maybe who are watching this now or who'll watch it later on, that it could be easy to say, well, there's not enough to do. I can't do the things that I used to do. I heard Paul say a minute ago, and we probably would agree, I've been busier than I've ever been before. I've heard some preachers say, I don't know what to do. And I'm thinking, okay, I understand that, number one. And number two, figure out what you can do.
Do something.
Start by calling
do
everybody in the congregation and check on them and see how they're doing. Reach out to them. Provide, like Steve said, get the minister to provide a special devotion for people and let everybody know. So it's not a matter of is there enough to do, it's a matter of if I'm going to do it or not. Go ahead, Paul.
There's a definite uptick in the needs of people spiritually and physically and everything during this. There's a lot of fear. A lot of people are afraid. There's more people are having trouble at home and other things. If you're receptive, you're going to hear about it, and you're going to have. It's not like it was. I mean, they're not sitting there in your office talking to you, but there's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of kids in trouble and all the stuff that happens. It just seems like there's more of it now because of that. So as far as being a minister, as far as helping people, you have opportunities that are, and the worst thing is that since we don't see each other all the time, some of those opportunities are getting by us, and that's not good. But that's gives you lots of opportunities to think about stuff. So
I had something happen this week that's never happened to me before. I had a call from somebody that needed to see if they could have a marriage counseling session, and I said, be glad to. When would you like to meet? And they said, would it be possible for us to do it through Zoom? And so I did a marriage counseling session through Zoom. So that was something I had never done before. So a lot of kind of unique opportunities. And again, I believe that God has made it possible to take these opportunities and use them to glorify Him. Go ahead, Dale.
I had something happen to me the other day that I've never happened to me in ministry as well. And if you had told me if I was in college or in grad studies, it would have happened. I would have never believed you. I had a state representative call me. Now that's an honor, isn't it? State representative called me, and he wanted me to deliver toilet paper to one of the folks that lived in our community. So,
a lot of opportunities.
Well, that was something they could use.
Yes, it was.
And they were very appreciative.
Yeah.
But yeah, right, I think, Jeff, we need to, we do, as we've said, we need to be creative, find ways to connect to people that you're not able to connect to the same way. Don't just sit back, preacher friends, and wring your hands and say, woe is me, we can't do this. We've got a family right now that the dad is dying in the hospital and the family can't be with him. But I can be with the family, even though the family can't be with him. Figure out a way around what you can't do to do the best you can. Do something.
Right.
Good.
All right. Last question. Steve, talk about this. This question is about, we hear a lot of negative and criticism of churches and things that are going on. And so we wanted to spend a little bit of time before we close talking about some positive things about the church. So tell us something, Steve, you've learned about the church that is positive and that is encouraging.
Well, that is a good question. I did think about this just a little bit. I think one of the things that has happened with us at Brown Street is we tried to keep things as much as normal as possible. We hear this term today, the new normal, but every October we have a missions month, and we have still put our emphasis on missions during the month of October. Our elders wondered what the pandemic was going to do with people's incomes, and so they pretty well set the goal of $100,000, which was far less than I think any of us would have ever thought. But you know, the church always rises to the occasion. Have you ever noticed that? If people believe in something, they will do it. And I'm just thrilled to death to share with you guys. And I hope you don't think it's about bragging about this, but I just want to tell you about the Brown Street Church. Our church has raised $208,000 now with a $100,000 goal. And so people will continue to do things they believe in. And if you promote it and you push it, the brethren will come through for you. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, that is. That's a tremendous thing that you all done at Brown Street, and it just goes to show you that our people are good people. They want what is best, and they want to help the kingdom grow, and that's a great thing. So, Paul, what have you learned about the church?
Well, when this all started, I thought I was going to spend my last years supervising the decline of a congregation, because we ended a meeting in the middle of the meeting with Ralph Gilmore, sent him home early, you know, which I'm sure is the first time that's ever happened to him. And you know, all the stuff, you know, the next Sunday I'm preaching in an empty building, and I was really frustrated, and the elders didn't want to meet with me because they knew how frustrated I was. But I want to brag on those guys. We were also in the process of adding some new elders, and a couple of our older elders were retiring. And so it was a real crisis time anyway. And then this happened. But those guys, first thing they did, they said, we have to find out who needs help, who's out of work, who's whatever. We've got to do whatever we got to do. And they started spending money like a drunken sailor. I mean, they were just getting after it, and whatever it took, they were doing it. And one of them said, we even have good credit if we're going to do what we got to do. And so and another thing they did was they said they divided up the congregation, and every one of those guys called everybody on their list that week. And then they traded lists, and they were talking to people all the time. And there were people that had never actually talked to an elder before. And now they've got, in a period of 3 or 4 weeks, they had 3 or 4 elders calling them, asking, are you all right? Is there anything you need? And everything. They set up, and they did this themselves. They set up each month, we have a different emphasis. And a couple of months ago, it was Caring Month or something. And they had postcards out there in the foyer and greeting cards. If you got one of them, they would even pay the postage on it. And so everybody's getting piles of mail from people. We had our Mission Sunday, and we usually raise around $200,000. And we're right at that, and nobody's got more money than they had last year. I mean, everybody has got less, but they're putting their money where it belongs. And lots of really good things. Encouragement Month, Mission Month, and so in that regard, it's good. The other thing is, I don't know if we'll ever get some of the people back that were kind of on the edge, because they're not watching, you know, and but the core is held together. And I never thought I'd be excited to see 250 people on Sunday morning, but I am. And we actually have a new kind of you know, in the Bible, you had the disciples and the apostles, the disciples, the multitude, you know, and among the crowd, we have new people that are coming in there, and that's really good. another great thing that's going on with the using the streaming and the other stuff that we're doing is that new people that really didn't have anything to do are now very active. All of our techie people are really after stuff. I mean, they're working on things that we're having to rotate who does the streaming and stuff. And these are all high level smart people, and they're doing all of this. Some of our Bible class teachers, since we didn't have Bible class, worked up a whole curriculum online for the little children.
Yeah.
And they send it out to the parents, and so we had Sunday school at everybody's house, doing this. Not everybody did it, but the ones that did it, those kids stayed right up to par. And those teachers, I looked at it a while back and I said, you could sell this. I mean, this is good stuff. And that sort of thing is happening. And one more thing, of our distant members, people that used to be members of our congregation and now they live in Montana or someplace, they're all there. They're there every Sunday, and they're saying, well, I like to hear it, but they're saying, we were starving here wherever we are, and now we're part of this congregation. And the only complaint we've had with our streaming is you're not showing enough faces, because we want to remember all those people. And it in that regard, the church is probably healthier than it was when we started. It's not as big, but it's healthier, and it is growing. We're having little by little, and some of the people I'm excited about that. That part's good. So
that's great. Dale, talk about it for a minute.
So y'all touched on a couple of things, and I'm so proud of Spring Meadows as well. But what I've learned is brotherhood wide. It appears that we've learned some things. One is our people are givers. They give. Churches all over are giving in healthy manners. Second thing I would say is we adjust. There are churches that investigated for 4 years how they can figure out to go online. They want to stream their services, and they had all sorts of committees and budgets and money to try to figure out, and they were putting it off, and then in one Sunday they figure out how to go online. And our brethren throughout this, whatever has come, they've stepped back, discussed it, done the wisest thing, and adjust. The third thing I'd say is our elders really do work hard to do what is best for the congregation where they are. And they may make different decisions. They may say mass, they may say no mass, they may say 2 service, 1 mass, 1 night. They may say we're going to meet once a week. But elders are always, even though we come to different conclusions in different congregations, in these areas where there is judgment, they are doing what is best for the church. That is beautiful to see. And us as ministers need to support that, even if we disagree with the decision they made on a matter of opinion, because they're doing what they believe is best for the congregation. The fourth thing I'd say is preachers preach well. I have watched different guys preach almost every week. I try to find guys I've not heard before, and man, they just make good efforts, and I'm so delighted to see that. I think of it this way: overall, it's our time to shine or to whine. We can gripe and complain, or we can shine and say, man, there's so much opportunity right now, make the most of it. I believe personally that COVID, this coronavirus deal, is the great revealer. It's revealing preachers that work hard and those that don't, preachers that are trying to keep going and innovating, and those who aren't sure what to do, churches that are healthy and churches, congregations that were not healthy. It's revealing what already existed. You see a church that's struggling. If you were to ask their minister, how were y'all doing before? Most of them will say, well, we had a lot of issues. All the pandemic has done is revealed what was already there. Yeah.
Well, I don't have a lot to add. I would just say it seems like to me that the vast majority of people I'm thinking about in my congregation, and I've heard from others, have been very cooperative and very supportive. There's always going to be a small group of people who talk loud and who aren't happy, but that's been the case since the church began and will always be the case. But elders have had to make some tough decisions, sometimes they've made decisions that they maybe didn't even want to make, but they thought was best for the congregation. And the people have been, when they've said, we want you to stay 6 feet apart, when we want you to wear a mask when you come to the building and when you leave, the vast majority of people have been very supportive and very cooperative. I think that shows that as Christians, we really are trying to model Christ in our lives and in the way that we serve him and the way that we worship and everything that we do. So I think that's another great gift that God has given us, and a great thing the church and Christians have done around the world. Well, thank you guys for being with us today. Appreciate you taking time, Steve, to join us, and Paul.
Thank you so much, Jeff and Dale. Thank you for the invite today.
Paul,
Yes.
point out your friend over there close to you. Your buddy there.
Oh, Bob? Yeah,
Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah.
Say something. So
Say something, Paul.
Huh?
Yeah, there you go. Now I can see it. You're talking.
Yeah.
Bob doesn't say much.
Well, he doesn't talk back to you like the rest of your family does he, Paul?
I call him Deacon sometimes.
Oh, no.
Got kind of a mean streak in him.
I wondered if he used to be a deacon.
Yeah.
Oh, me. All right.
The guy walked in
thanks.
this office one time and looked around and he said, this isn't my house, by the way, but he looked around and he said, you are one sick man. There you are.
I like that. I like that. What do they call them? I think they call them funeral mask. I like that funeral mask you have there in the office there, back over your left shoulder. That's a great funeral mask up there.
Oh.
Say something.
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you have that cast?
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? That'd be good. Yeah.
All right.
All
Jeff,
right, Dale.
thank you for being here. Hey, folks listening, if you have ideas for other webinars and information you'd like for us to put out there, let us know at tji@thejenkinsinstitute.com. And
I heard an idea already. Just came in on here. It says get different guests.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look at it this way. It's all uphill after this one.
Well, hey, let me jump in here just a second, Dale. Let me tell you guys, I love you guys. Paul, I love you. Dale and Jeff, y'all are the best. Y'all keep up the good work and encouraging the brethren, and we need more of this. Thank you.
So you love Dale and Jeff, but no, you said Dale
I
and
said
Jeff
you
are the
too,
best,
Paul. I said I
but
love you,
just
Paul.
love me. That's what you
I
said.
love
All right.
you, Paul. I love you.
All right.
I got it.
Dale, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Please send us your comments, again, questions or ideas for webinars where we'll try to do what we can. And till next time, may God bless you richly is our prayer for you.